My name is Wyatt Carter, and I am 20 years old, a communication student in Ames, Iowa. But whenever someone asks where I am from, I don't talk about Mason City, where I grew up, or the noisy dorm I live in now. I tell them about a small wooden house on the edge of Clear Lake, surrounded by endless cornfields where the sunsets turn the sky into fire. That house belonged to my grandmother, Helen Carter, and my story really begins with her. I was never an easy child. At school, I was the kid teachers shook their heads at, always caught breaking rules with average grades and too much attitude. When I stole candy once or fought the neighbor boy, my father, Gerald, would take a leather belt and snap it across my legs, growling that I was on the road to becoming a thug. My mother, Elaine, never raised her hand against me, but her cold gaze felt sharper than punishment. In those moments, all I wanted was to escape, and I would pedaling my rickety bike down the long dirt road that led to Grandma Helen's door. Her house was nothing grand. The roof tiles rattled in the wind, the floorboards creaked, and the air carried the scent of old wood mixed with simmering chicken soup. But the moment I saw her standing on the porch, in her faded green apron, smiling as though I was the only thing that mattered, I felt safe. She never scolded me. She only asked gently, "Wyatt, what trouble have you gotten into now?" Then she would ladle soup into a bowl, its sweet corn kernels gleaming like jewels, and place it before me. I don't know if her soup had magic, but every spoonful seemed to erase the sting of my father's belt and the ache of being misunderstood. I poured everything out to her, from classroom disasters to broken vases, and she listened as though my words mattered more than anything. Sometimes she told her own stories in return, how she once worked long shifts as a waitress at a diner in Clear Lake, smiling even with aching feet until she met my grandfather, a quiet coal miner. They built a life together, had 3 children, and dreamed of years ahead. But when my grandfather died in a mining accident, she was left widowed at 32, with nothing but her hands to keep her children alive. She worked by day, sewed by night, stretched a single loaf of bread into a feast, and never once called it suffering. It wasn't suffering, Wyatt, she told me. It was love. Those summers with her were the brightest of my childhood. I woke in the attic room with sunlight slipping through the slats and ran downstairs to find her kneading cornbread. We worked in the garden together, pulled weeds, watered beans, and lay in the grass, listening to the whisper of the wind. She taught me that the world had secrets you could hear if only you paid attention. Birds warning of rain winds shifting before a storm. She was my anchor, the one person who believed in me when even I couldn't. But she lived alone. My father rarely visited, claiming she was stubborn for refusing to leave that wooden house. Uncle Douglas had long moved to Chicago for real estate and hardly called. Aunt Patricia was close by, but always busy with her children. Grandma only smiled when I asked why they weren't around. They have their own lives, Wyatt. But I have you, and that's enough. As a child, I couldn't understand how anyone could leave her lonely. I promised myself I never would. Then life pulled me away too. At 18, I left Mason City for college in Ames. With my old suitcase in hand, I stood before red brick buildings, crowded dorms, and buzzing streets that felt both thrilling and terrifying. My dorm was a peeling white room with a creaky bunk bed. My roommate Jake buried himself in headphones and gaming screens while I drifted through classes unsure of what my future held. I missed Grandma's kitchen, her soup, her voice telling me I wasn't a mistake. I called her late at night confessing my doubts, and she reassured me that nobody truly knows what they want at 18. "Stumble, Wyatt," she said. "You'll find your path. And if you're ever tired, come back to me. My soup will be waiting." Her words steadied me, and when loneliness pressed too hard, I found an odd distraction. Watching classmates post silly YouTube clips of dances and pranks, I tried it myself. I filmed comedic sketches of student life, exaggerated news anchor voices, even my bike crashing on campus. At first, Only a few dozen people watched, but I felt alive creating something. Slowly, my channel grew. Still, every month I returned to Grandma, filming little moments with her, too, her stirring soup, kneading bread, or knitting by the porch. People online adored her far more than me. Comments poured in. "Your grandma reminds me of mine. Please share her recipe." She only laughed, baffled that strangers loved watching her. But her warmth shone through every video, and soon my channel grew to tens of thousands of subscribers. Yet while the internet discovered her, I noticed she was growing frail. Her hands trembled kneading dough, her silver hair thinned, and she often gazed at the fields with distant eyes. My father and his siblings still rarely visited. When I asked why, she brushed it off. "They're busy, Wyatt. I can manage." But I knew she was alone. I promised again silently that one day I would make sure she never felt abandoned. I didn't know then how soon life would test that promise. Grandma was always the steady light in my life, but one autumn evening everything changed. I was tying on my apron at the campus coffee shop, where I worked part-time, when my phone buzzed. Seeing her name, I smiled, expecting a small story or reminder to eat. But her voice was frail, trembling, as if each word cost her strength. "Wyatt, I need someone to talk to. Are you free?" My chest tightened. She never spoke that way. "Where are you, Grandma?" I asked quickly. After a pause, she whispered, "At a motel in Mason City. I just left your parents' house. Please, come." I didn't hesitate. I begged off my shift and boarded the last bus home, staring into the darkness of Iowa cornfields as dread gnawed at me. She didn't answer when I called again, and my texts to my father and mother went ignored. When I reached the rundown motel, she opened the door with red eyes, her silver hair tangled, clutching a small cloth bag as though she had run away. She hugged me, whispering my childhood nickname, "Waddy, you came." Inside the dim room, I sat her down and begged to know what had happened. She took my hand, her voice trembling. "Wyatt, I'm sick. The doctor says I have kidney failure and need dialysis." My heart froze. She explained how she had gone to my father for help gathering Douglas and Patricia for a family meeting. Instead of comfort, they offered excuses. Gerald claimed dialysis was too expensive. Douglas said he was busy with work in Chicago and about to have a baby. Patricia insisted she was overwhelmed by her children. They told her she should sell her wooden house and enter a nursing home. I could barely contain my anger. How could they abandon the woman who had sacrificed everything for them? But she only said softly, "I don't blame them, Wyatt. They have their own lives. I just couldn't stay where I felt like a burden." Tears blurred my vision. I clasped her hand and swore, "You won't be alone. Come live with me in Ames. I'll take care of you." She shook her head, worried I was too young, too poor, still in school, but I held firm. "You're the most important person to me. I won't let you go to a nursing home." The next day, we returned to her house in Clear Lake to pack. She took only a few clothes, her apron, and the battered soup pot that had comforted me since childhood. Back in Ames, she settled into my dorm room, now empty after my roommate had moved out. It was cramped, a bunk bed pressed against a wall, a tiny desk by the window, and a narrow kitchen corner. But for us, it was enough. Those days were hard. I rushed from classes to part-time shifts, then guided her to dialysis appointments in the evenings. Bills piled up faster than I could pay. Tuition slipped behind. My YouTube channel, once my outlet, fell silent. Yet every time I came home to find her knitting or stirring soup with trembling hands, I knew I had made the right choice. She still tried to take care of me. "You're too thin, Wyatt," she'd say, sliding a steaming bowl toward me. "Eat first, then tell me about your day." And like when I was a boy, the weariness of the world seemed to melt with each bite. Still, anger burned beneath the surface. I couldn't forgive my father, uncle, or aunt for abandoning her, but she, with the heart of a saint, never spoke against them. "They'll find their way," she murmured once. "Let go of hate. It only weighs you down." I nodded, though the bitterness stayed lodged in me. Then one morning she surprised me. "Wyatt, I want to do something. I don't want to just sit here as a burden." I told her she needed to rest, but her eyes shone with the same determination that had raised 3 children alone. She insisted on helping, so I brought her to the college cafeteria, which was always desperate for staff. The manager hesitated at her age, but Grandma only smiled and said, "I may be slow, but I know how to work." Soon she was in the back kitchen peeling potatoes, chopping vegetables, humming, while students rushed past. The staff adored her. They called her Grandma Helen, teasing that she worked steady as the sunrise. She seemed renewed, talking each night about sandwiches ruined with too much mayonnaise or the laughter of young cooks. Then, one hectic Friday, the cafeteria ran short on soup. The manager, half joking, turned to her. "Helen, you must know a good recipe." She glanced at me and I nodded. "Grandma, make your chicken soup. No one does it better." So she did. And when the rich aroma of corn and chicken filled the air, students lined up with bowls, their faces lighting with surprise. "This is amazing," someone shouted. "Can I get another?" The cafeteria buzzed with excitement. That night, I posted a simple video, her stirring the pot, students slurping happily, a caption, reading, "My grandma's soul-healing soup is back." I expected little. But by morning, it had 50,000 views. Comments flooded in. "She reminds me of my grandmother. Where's the recipe I'd eat at her place every day?" My channel exploded, and so did our lives. For the first time, I glimpsed a path forward, not just for me, but for her too. The video of Grandma Helen's chicken soup didn't just go viral, it transformed everything. Within days, my subscriber count doubled. From 20,000, the channel leapt to 50,000, then close to 100,000. Suddenly, people across the country were writing to us, not just praising her food, but telling us how she reminded them of their own families, how her warmth made them cry or smile. One girl wrote, "Watching your grandma makes me call my mom." When I read that aloud, Grandma chuckled. "Wyatt, these kids are strange. It's just soup." But I knew it wasn't just soup. It was her, the sincerity, the love in her voice, the patience in her hands. As the cafeteria began serving her recipe regularly, the students clamored for more. I filmed her teaching me to knead dough or telling stories while peeling potatoes. Each video drew thousands of likes and heartfelt comments. My small dorm kitchen was cramped, but our story had outgrown it. That's when one comment changed everything. A viewer named Iowa Dreamer wrote, "You and your grandma deserve a little diner to sell this soup. I want to donate. How can I help?" At first, I thought it was a joke. Money. For us, but as more people commented the same thing, I couldn't shake the idea. Nervously, I told Grandma, "Someone wants to donate so we can open a diner." She blinked in disbelief. "A diner?" "Oh, Wyatt, I'm too old for that. Don't say that I insisted. People love your food. They love you. Maybe this is possible." She looked at me for a long moment, then gave that soft smile I knew so well. "You're such a fool. But if you want to try, I'll stand by you." So I did something I'd never imagined. I started a GoFundMe campaign. I called it Help Grandma Helen, open a small diner with a modest goal of $5,000. I filmed a video in our dorm explaining her illness, our struggles, and my dream of giving her a better life. I expected maybe a few donations. Instead, within 2 days, strangers from Iowa, California, even the UK had contributed over $2,000. One wrote, "For Grandma Helen, who reminds me of family." Another sent $100 saying, "I want to eat that soup someday." I read every message aloud to her, and though she brushed away tears, her eyes shone. "Wyatt, I never thought people would care about me like this." The campaign didn't stop. In 2 weeks, it passed $8,000. That's when I knew this was real. Help came from closer to home, too. At the cafeteria one afternoon, a business major named Mia approached me. Sharp-eyed, always wearing crisp shirts, she asked Wyatt, "Are you serious about opening a diner? I saw your video." I admitted I had no clue about business. She grinned. "Lucky for you, I do, and I need a project for my class. Let me help." With Mia guiding us, we drew up a plan. The diner would focus on two dishes: Grandma's chicken soup and her special grilled meat sandwich with fresh vegetables and sauce she had perfected years ago. Ryan, a design student, volunteered to create a logo grandma, holding a pot of soup drawn with warmth. She laughed at the first sketch. I looked like a witch brewing a potion, but when Ryan finished, she nodded with pride. We found a small shop near campus, once a bakery. It wasn't big, just 10 tables and a kitchen, but it had windows looking out on oak trees. I took Grandma there, and she whispered, "Wyatt, I never thought I'd have a diner, but if we do this, let's make it feel like my Clear Lake kitchen, warm, simple a place where people feel at home." We poured the donations into rent equipment and simple decorations. She worked alongside me, teaching me to pick fresh corn, to grill meat tenderly, to use just the right amount of mayonnaise. Every step carried her fingerprints, her heart. Opening day arrived on a crisp Saturday morning. I stood at the counter trembling while Grandma stirred a pot of soup, her green sweater bright against the white tiles. Mia handed out flyers on the sidewalk. Ryan hung the wooden sign, "Grandma Helen's, where love becomes food." At first, we feared no one would come, but within 30 minutes the diner was packed. Students, professors, locals, all lined up to try her food. Laughter filled the room, spoons clinked against bowls, and the air was rich with the aroma of her soup. I filmed a short clip of the bustling crowd, Grandma smiling shyly at the counter, and posted it with the caption, "Grandma Helen's first day." Thank you all. That video reached 500,000 views overnight. My channel skyrocketed to 300,000 subscribers. People from all over wanted to visit, not just for the food, but to meet her. One popular YouTuber, Foodie Vibes, came to film capturing the soup, the long lines, and Grandma's simple wisdom. His video reached 1 million views in days, and donations poured in again, lifting us to $20,000. I hugged her, half laughing, half crying. "Grandma, we're going to be rich," she only chuckled. "Rich, Wyatt? I just want to cook for people. That's enough." But the world wasn't done with us. One afternoon, a man in a suit walked into the diner. He introduced himself as Tom Carver, a food investor from Des Moines. Calm and confident, he said, "Wyatt, I tried your grandma's soup this morning. It's not just delicious, it has soul. I want to invest in Grandma Helen's, turn it into a chain." I was stunned. A chain. I was only 20, still barely surviving school and rent. That night I told Grandma. She sat quietly, holding her teacup. "Wyatt, I never dreamed of anything big. I just wanted to make people happy. If you think this is good for us, I'll support you. Just promise me don't let the diner lose its soul." I nodded, shaken but determined. "I promise, Grandma." When Tom Carver laid out his offer, it felt like stepping into a world I didn't belong to. He proposed opening 2 more diners, one in Des Moines and another in Iowa City, designed to mirror our little shop, simple and cozy with soup and sandwiches at the heart. His initial offer was $100,000 for 40% of the business. I nearly said yes on the spot, dizzy with the thought of money and expansion, but Mia stepped in. "Calm and sharp," she whispered later. "Wyatt, don't rush. This is huge, and you need to keep control. Investors like him can turn Grandma's diner into a soulless fast food chain if you're not careful." I listened, torn between fear and excitement. With her help, I sat across from Tom again, insisting on keeping 60% ownership and control over the menu. He smiled, a little surprised, but agreed. For the first time in my life, I felt like I was negotiating not as a boy, but as someone who could protect what mattered. While expansion plans brewed, our little diner became a sensation. Students brought their parents, locals drove from neighboring towns, even people from Chicago made weekend trips just to taste Grandma Helen's soup. The GoFundMe passed $20,000, covering her hospital bills and paying down my tuition debt. I hired extra staff to ease her burden, but she still refused to stay away from the counter. "Wyatt, customers come here to feel at home," she said, wiping her hands on her apron. "If I'm not here, how can they?" One day we received an unexpected call from KCCI, a local television station. They wanted us on a talk show to share our story. I was terrified, but Grandma only laughed. "If you want to do it, I'll go. Just don't let them make me wear anything fancy." On the day of the interview, we sat side by side under bright studio lights. She wore her favorite green sweater, her silver hair pulled back neatly. I was nervous, my hands trembling, but she radiated calm. The host asked how it all began, and I spoke of the soup, the dorm room, the community that lifted us. Grandma listened with a smile, occasionally teasing me. "Wyatt's a foolish boy, but he has a big heart." The audience laughed and my nerves eased. Then came the question that silenced the room. "Grandma Helen, what keeps you cooking even with your health struggles?" She paused, eyes distant, then said softly, "I cook because it's how I love. Back then I cooked so my children wouldn't go hungry. Now I cook for Wyatt, for the students, for anyone who walks in hungry or sad. Sometimes a bowl of soup speaks louder than words." Applause thundered through the studio and tears burned my eyes. That moment went viral after the interview aired, and suddenly our diner was no longer just a campus spot. It was an Iowa landmark. People drove hours to meet her to sit in our little shop and taste love in a bowl. But success carries shadows. As the diner's fame grew, so did the pressure. I juggled school, the diner, hospital visits, and online videos, sometimes collapsing into bed past midnight with bills still spread across my desk. Tom pressed me to open the second location faster than planned, reminding me of momentum. I worried constantly that the diner might lose the warmth Grandma treasured if we grew too quickly. And then one Saturday afternoon, shadows from the past walked right through the diner door. I was wiping tables when I saw my father Gerald in a wrinkled suit, Uncle Douglas in his polished Chicago clothes, and Aunt Patricia clutching her oversized handbag. My heart stopped. Grandma behind the counter froze too, her hands trembling slightly before she forced herself to step forward. "Gerald, Douglas, Patricia," she said, her voice calm but heavy. "Why are you here?" We led them to a table in the back away from the hum of customers. My father spoke first, awkward and low. "Wyatt, we've seen what you've done. We're proud. We want to help. Be part of Grandma Helen's." Douglas leaned in smoothly. "You're young and inexperienced. I have connections. I can help expand this properly, bring in real investors," Patricia added in her sweet but strained voice. "Your grandma is our mother. We just want to make sure she's cared for." I stared at them, my anger boiling. Help after they turned her away to a nursing home. After she cried in that motel room clutching a single bag, my voice came out cold. How can you speak of family when you abandoned her when she needed you most? Grandma placed a hand on my arm, whispering, "Wyatt, don't." But I couldn't stop. I stood looking directly at them. "Do you remember that night she came to you sick and desperate, and you told her to sell her house to go away? Now that this place is successful, you suddenly care. Do you think I'm stupid?" The air thickened with tension. My father flushed stammering excuses. Douglas's tone hardened. "We're her children. We have a right." Patricia dabbed at her eyes with a tissue, crying. "We were wrong, Wyatt, but we want to make it up to her." I wanted to throw them out, but Grandma's grip tightened. Her eyes glistened as she whispered, "They're my children, Wyatt. Please, don't fight like this." Her forgiveness was like a knife in my chest. She had raised them with everything she had, and still she loved them enough to forgive. For her sake, I swallowed my rage. But in my heart, I knew. They weren't here for love. They were here for the glow of Grandma Helen's. After that tense meeting, I felt torn apart. Grandma's kindness was a gift, but also a wound. She forgave too easily, even those who didn't deserve it. For her sake, I told my father, Douglas, and Patricia that if they wanted to be involved, it would be on my terms. Every decision had to go through me, and the diner's soul could never be sacrificed. They nodded, but the flicker in their eyes told me their motives were far from pure. I thought the storm had passed. But a few days later, another one hit, this time from outside. While checking YouTube notifications one morning, I froze. A short video was trending already, racking up hundreds of thousands of views. Its title, "The Truth About Grandma Helen's Family." Heart racing, I pressed play. The shaky footage was clearly filmed secretly from the corner of our diner during that confrontation. The video captured my voice, sharp and furious. "Do you think I'm stupid? You abandoned her when she needed you most." It showed Douglas's cold retort. "We're her children. We have a right," and Patricia's fragile, false tears. It ended with Grandma's trembling voice. "Enough, Wyatt. I don't want our family fighting like this." I slammed my phone on the counter, blood boiling. Someone had recorded our private pain and thrown it to the wolves. The comments were relentless, shameless children. How could they abandon her? Wyatt, protect your grandma at all costs. Strangers began digging through my relatives' social media, condemning them publicly. A wave of online fury spread, and though part of me felt vindicated, another part dreaded what this would do to Grandma. She didn't deserve more heartache. I decided not to tell her at first. But the phone calls began that night. My father's voice, thick with rage, crackled through the line. "Wyatt, what the hell have you done? You posted that video to smear us, didn't you?" "You want the world to think I'm a monster," I snapped back. "I didn't post it, Dad. Someone recorded it. And you know what? It's all true." His fury rose, echoing the harshness of my childhood. "You ungrateful boy. You're just using my mother to make money. Don't think you're better than me." I hung up, my hands shaking. Then Douglas called, his voice icy as steel. "Wyatt, take that video down. You're humiliating me. I'll sue the diner if you don't." I shot back, "Sue me. You abandoned her. Ask yourself why people despise you." Finally, Patricia called, her voice a mix of sobs and venom. "Wyatt, how could you do this to me? I only wanted to help Grandma, and now the world sees me as a villain." I nearly laughed through my anger. "You want to talk about ungrateful? You left her alone when she needed you. Don't ever call me again." After that night, I blocked all three of them. I couldn't risk their poison seeping back into her life. Grandma noticed my tension and asked softly what was wrong, but I only shook my head. "It's nothing, Grandma. Just noise." She gave me a long look, as if she knew more than I admitted, then let it go. The months that followed were both a blur of growth and an endless battle against exhaustion. Grandma Helen's became more than just a diner. It became a gathering place. Students stopped in not just to eat, but to sit with Grandma, to hear her laugh, to let her fuss over them as though they were her own. Locals brought family photos to show her. Even travelers from other states made detours to taste her soup and meet the woman they had watched online. The chain expanded. With Tom's investment, we opened 2 more locations, one in Des Moines, another in Iowa City. Each was designed to echo the original warm wood simple curtains, the smell of soup drifting through the air. I left college unable to juggle classes and the business, but I didn't regret it. For the first time, I felt I was building something real. Yet I kept the promise I made that night in the motel. I never let Grandma be alone. I bought her a small new house with a bright garden, just as she'd always dreamed. A private nurse helped with her dialysis so she wouldn't overwork, but still every afternoon she insisted on cooking something small, humming as she stirred. Wyatt, she'd smile a home-knead soup on the stove. Our YouTube channel grew, with the diner passing 500,000 subscribers. People didn't just come for food. They came for her stories. Clips of her telling jokes, knitting by the window, or teaching me how to balance flavors became treasures to strangers across the world. One message read, "Your grandma reminds me that love can be simple and pure." I showed it to her and she patted my hand. "See, Wyatt, love always finds a way. But success never erases shadows." Every now and then, I caught glimpses of my father or Douglas lurking online, bitter comments under fake names, hints that they were plotting to reclaim some share of what they once rejected. Patricia sent one last letter begging forgiveness, insisting she only wanted to be close again. I tore it up. I couldn't let them near her. One evening, sitting together in the kitchen of her new home, she looked at me quietly. "Wyatt, you can't live forever with anger. I've forgiven them." My jaw tightened. "They don't deserve it, Grandma. Not after what they did." She sighed, her eyes distant but kind. "Forgiveness isn't for them, my boy. It's for you, to let you breathe." I didn't answer. I couldn't. All I knew was that I had built a new life out of love and stubbornness, and I wasn't going to let anyone take it away. A year passed like a dream, though not without struggles. What started with a single pot of soup in a cramped dorm kitchen had grown into a small chain known across Iowa. Grandma Helen's was no longer just a diner. It was a place where people came to feel cared for. Expansion had made us busier than ever, but the heart of it all remained her. Even with her health declining, she refused to step away. Each morning she insisted on riding with me to the original diner. Sometimes she only sat near the window, knitting, greeting customers with a smile, or telling stories to students who lingered by her table. "Your grandma makes this place feel alive," one customer told me. I nodded because I knew it was true. Without her, all of it would mean nothing. The online world only fueled the fire. Our channel soared past 1 million subscribers. Other YouTubers visited filming collaborations. Donations still trickled in, not because we asked, but because people wanted to give. Some fans drove from hours away, lining up outside just to meet her. They'd shake her hand, sometimes even cry, telling her she reminded them of mothers or grandmothers they missed. She would laugh softly, embarrassed, and say, "I'm just Helen. Nothing special." But to them and to me, she was everything. Despite the joy I carried a weight, I had dropped out of college to run the diner, and though the success was undeniable, nights found me hunched over bill supply orders and investor meetings. Tom pushed hard for faster growth. Wyatt momentum is everything, he repeated like a mantra. I pushed back, cautious, remembering Grandma's warning never to let the diner lose its soul. Mia stood by me, guiding each decision, reminding me that expansion meant nothing without authenticity. Still, the pressure was immense. At home, Grandma saw through me. One night, as I sat at the kitchen table drowning in paperwork, she set down a steaming bowl of soup in front of me. "Eat first," she said, her tone gentle but firm. I looked at her tired hands, at the lines deepening in her face, and swallowed the knot in my throat. "Grandma, what if I can't keep up? What if this all slips away?" She touched my arm lightly. "Wyatt, you've already given me more than I dreamed. You brought me out of loneliness. You gave me a family again. Whatever happens, remember that's enough." Her words stayed with me, but the shadows of the past weren't done. Though I had cut ties, my father Douglas and Patricia lingered at the edges. Sometimes I'd hear from old acquaintances that they resented me, that they thought I was exploiting her fame. Once an anonymous letter arrived at the diner, scrawled in sharp ink. "You can't keep her from us forever." I crumpled it up before Grandma could see my anger reigniting. She might forgive them, but I couldn't. Not after the motel, not after the way they turned their backs. Through it all, Grandma carried herself with quiet grace. She found joy in small things, a flower blooming in her garden, a student bringing her a handmade card, a stranger writing to say her soup inspired them to cook again. Her strength humbled me. She had lived through more pain than I could imagine yet, still chose kindness. The real turning point came when the TV station invited us back, this time for a longer segment about how the diner had expanded. We drove to the studio together, her wrapped in her favorite shawl, me in the same nervous sweat as before. The host smiled warmly as we sat down. "Wyatt, Grandma Helen, the world has fallen in love with you. What message would you like to share with everyone watching tonight?" I hesitated, but Grandma answered first, her voice steady. "Life is never easy. I've known hunger, loss, and loneliness, but I've also known love, and love is stronger. A bowl of soup may seem small, but it can carry warmth enough to heal a heart. If you have love, give it. If you need love, don't be ashamed to ask for it. That's all that matters. The studio went silent before erupting into applause. I felt tears prick my eyes as I looked at her, the woman who had saved me, who had taught me everything I knew about love. When the segment aired, it spread even faster than the first. Customers flooded in from across the state, and our story was shared on national outlets. But beyond fame and growth, what mattered was the lesson people carried away, that love, even in its simplest form, could change lives. For me, the lesson was sharper still. I had once thought myself a failure, a rebellious boy lost in anger. But she had believed in me when no one else did, and in believing, she made me into someone capable of carrying her dream. The diner thrived, the channel thrived, and my promise to her remained the same, to never let her be alone again. Time slipped by faster than I ever expected. What began with a small wooden house by Clear Lake and a boy pedaling down a dirt road in search of comfort had become something far larger than either Grandma or I could have dreamed. From that one bowl of soup, we built not just a diner, but a family drawn from strangers across the world who saw in her what I had always seen love made real. Grandma's health continued to waver, yet her spirit never dimmed. Even on her hardest dialysis days, she insisted on stopping by the diner if only to sit in her corner chair, knitting and smiling at each person who walked in. People lined up just to talk to her, to hear her gentle jokes, to feel the warmth of her presence. She's the heart of this place, customers often told me, and they were right. Without her, nothing else would exist. Meanwhile, my father Douglas and Patricia faded into the background. The viral video and public outrage had scorched their reputations, and though they tried a few times to approach us again, I kept the doors closed. Grandma, true to her nature, urged me not to hate. Wyatt, bitterness eats you from the inside, she said. Let go even if you don't let them back in. I nodded, though part of me still clung to the anger. She was too kind for her own good, but I also knew that her forgiveness wasn't weakness, it was strength. The diner chain grew to 3 locations each, echoing the warmth of her original kitchen. Tom pressed for more, but I held back, determined to expand only as fast as we could keep our soul intact. Mia stayed by my side, guiding each financial decision, reminding me of balance. Ryan, the designer, became like family, constantly tweaking logos, menus, and signs so that every detail reflected simplicity and love. Together, we weren't just running a business, we were carrying a legacy. One spring afternoon, after the lunch rush quieted, I found Grandma sitting by the window of the original diner, sunlight bathing her face. She looked out at the oak-lined street, her hands folded over her knitting. Wyatt, she said softly, you've given me more than I ever thought I'd have. A home, love, a place where people gather. I can rest easy knowing you'll carry this on. I sat across from her, throat tight. Grandma, I was once just a rebellious kid who thought he'd never amount to anything. You believed in me when no one else did. Everything I am now is because of you. She smiled, her eyes misty. That's what love does, Wyatt. It takes broken things and makes them whole again. In that moment, I realized the truest lesson she had given me. Family isn't always defined by blood. It's defined by those who stand beside you, who never abandon you, who believe in you when you cannot believe in yourself. My father, Douglas, and Patricia had chosen their path. But I had found a new family in the community, and the people who lined up for soup in the strangers online, who cheered us on, and friends like Mia and Ryan, who gave their time and hearts freely. As the months passed, I held tighter to the small moments, the aroma of soup drifting through the kitchen, the way customers' faces lit up at their first spoonful, the sound of Grandma's laughter mixing with the clatter of dishes. Those were the moments that mattered, the ones that made the struggle worthwhile. Our story wasn't just about a diner or even about soup. It was about love, quiet, stubborn, unconditional love that carried us from hardship to hope, from a lonely wooden house to dreams we never thought possible. If I could leave one lesson behind, it would be this: cherish the people who love you unconditionally. Stand by them, protect them, and never let the noise of the world convince you they are anything less than treasures. Life will bring hardship, but love, real love, always finds a way. Thank you for being part of our journey. If this story touched you, please like, share, and subscribe so more people can hear Grandma Helen's legacy. Leave a comment below with your own story of someone who believed in you. You never know who might need to hear it.